Good morning, Mid-Michigan, and welcome to another program of Continuous Miracle. Right here on our local station, WGLM 106.3. We are glad you're here. And last time I checked, we're glad we're here too.
Me too.
We're here with you this morning talking about some recovery and access to recovery within the local area and in greater Grand Rapids area. And people will find out or can access that recovery stream no matter where they may be staying, whether you're in Nuevo County or Montcalm County or Kent County or wherever you may be so located. No matter where they may be staying, whether you're in Nuevo County or Montcalm County or Kent County, pretty amazing actually. We got something going on here and it's wonderful. We got Mike here with us again this morning.
Morning, folks.
Magic Mike. And Dangerous Darren is here on the dials.
Yep.
Doing his usual stellar job.
Not very stellar this morning. We're having technical issues here at the studio. Most of them caused by me.
Could be worse. You could have me running the flagship.
Oh,
over there.
that's true.
Okay.
That's true.
We do know how to make things worse, don't we?
It's my job.
But no, we're getting through these technical difficulties. Hopefully you can hear us just fine. And we'll figure all the rest of it out as we go. We got a guest with us today. Pleased to have him on, Mr. Brian E., and he is the executive director of Guiding Light in Grand Rapids. And he's here to share with us a little bit today about that organization and what it has to offer for folks who are maybe in the throes of addiction and looking for a place to go to become well and get a good start on this thing we call recovery. And we see these miracles on a regular basis, and Brian does too. He's informed me. But I'll let him tell you about that. Mike, what's on your mind this morning?
There's a lot on my mind, but we ain't got time to tell folks how confused I am. But I'm grateful that Brian's in here with us to tell our folks that are still in active addiction can get some help.
Yes. Yeah, it's available. Help is available. And Brian, you're a big part in trying to provide some of that help to folks when they arrive at your doorstep, correct?
Yes. We're Guiding Light now is totally focused on helping men and women in recovery.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wasn't always that way. It's grown into that because of the need.
Exactly, because of the need.
So a little bit about Brian here. Why don't you let us know what brought you to the recovery community as you know it today?
Yeah, just thinking about talking today and kind of going through some of that in my mind. Guiding Light has a special place in my heart because it's really where the change really started to happen in my life in regards to recovery. About a week before I showed up at Guiding Light as hoping to get in that place, I didn't even know what Guiding Light was. Didn't even know. I'd been going in and out of AA for probably a good 12, 13 years. Created some relationships there, but I was one of those guys that kind of would show up when things got really tough.
Sure.
And look for some what I call relief, but not really committed to kind of taking those steps where the change needed to happen. And I was in a hotel room with another guy. We were both teachers. We had lost our jobs, and let's just say we were kind of commiserating in a victimhood type place.
Sure. Things weren't going well.
Things were not going well,
Right.
and I woke up on a morning in I'm not sure if it's Grand Rapids or it must have been in Wyoming. We were in a hotel room, and he was non-responsive. Kind of looked at him and threw some water on him, and he didn't move. And made a phone call to the police department, and next thing I know, he was pronounced dead on the spot there in a little seedy motel. and I spent that day in the Wyoming police station, making sure there was no foul play. And I just couldn't believe that my life was at the place it was at, and
Right. We got a word for it. It's called unmanageability.
and it was written all over my life.
Yeah.
But that weird inability, the delusional thinking was still there, because I'd have a couple months here or there, maybe 6 months, where things would kind of get back on track, and then I think I'd kind of had it,
Right.
had it figured out, and just never kind of got out of that cycle until I got to Guiding Light, and
And that's not an uncommon cycle. We see that quite often with folks who are introduced to recovery. They may come into local meetings and whatnot, but not willing to maybe make that commitment, like you and I were talking about earlier, that it actually takes for folks to become recovered.
Mm-hmm. And that lack of commitment part was kind of the only place I really would say I showed commitment was more in the like athletics, like school. I didn't really commit. Like I don't think I really understood. I always thought I was kind of special.
Oh,
Yeah.
unique.
Unique. And man, that didn't serve me well. And so Guiding Light at that time, Guiding Light still had kind of the old way of doing things, as far as it still kind of had that gospel rescue mission feel to it.
Okay.
We were still doing some emergency shelter at that point.
And that's, well, I don't denigrate that in any manner, because that served the community well
Mhm.
at that time, and there's been some growth since that time.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, so other nonprofits kind of handle that today, and Guiding Light, we really wanted to make sure we didn't duplicate services.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, so that donor funding and things like that could be used for focusing in on a certain community issue that we felt we could help, and I think we started getting what we thought we had a pretty good thing going. We one big thing that made a difference for us was the investment in housing after the program.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys would, me included, it was just started when I was finishing up the program, where men could go into long-term sober living, and it started out pretty small. But today, between the men and women, we have 9 properties that can house men and women. So on any given night, we could have over 100 people under the umbrella of Guiding Light that are in recovery. So
It's quite an outreach.
yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of people know of our address there at 255, but they don't quite know that we have all these other properties that are supporting people that are working in recovery, and kind of starting that new path in a different direction.
Sure. So like yourself, when they come in, or we call them participants,
Mhm.
is that right?
Yep.
Okay. When participants come in to the Guiding Light mission, then you mentioned there's like a 4-month in-house
Mm-hmm.
actual where you stay right in the facility
Yep.
and receive treatment. And I'm pretty sure that includes 3 meals a day and a place to sleep and get cleaned up a little bit and learn about some new things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you do detox?
We do not do detox. So we get them to the right place if they want that. Pine Rest, I think it's called Harbor Lights now, it used to be Turning Point. Sanford House does detox, and the hospitals used to do more of it. It seems like more recently they're getting people to a certain percentage of
A level.
and so they tend not to keep guys as long, or guys and women, unless there's some serious medical conditions going on. But that is a little tricky thing, the detox part. So people can come to us under the influence of marijuana and maybe a few other substances that are not quite as scary for the detox part. But really, alcohol is the biggest risk of the detox. The opiate detox is not fun. It's a very painful one, but it's not at high
Physical.
risk. Yeah, physical.
More physical.
Yeah, right.
Not everybody, sorry to interrupt, but not everybody understands that alcohol is about the only drug that detoxing from will kill you.
Yeah, definitely the most deaths related to detox is with alcohol. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's really common knowledge.
No.
You know, we hear about the opioids and what are, I guess would be considered harder drugs.
Mm-hmm.
The detox from that would be horrific when in fact alcohol is the number one killer when you're trying to detox. And it's not really common knowledge that I'm aware of, and people need to know that.
Physical body functions after a while become dependent upon the alcohol in a certain level. And the break from that is where the real problem is. Most of the other addictive drugs don't have as much body effect as
Physical.
that. Yes.
Right. More mental.
I'm learning my words. Not very well, but I'm learning.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
And I think, well, I know alcohol's still the biggest killer more than opiates, but you just don't see it in the obituary or the information is, he might have fallen down the stairs, or he or she, or they might have died in the hospital related to another. The people don't mention the alcoholism and still the number one killer.
Yeah.
Opiates get a lot of attention, which they should, because it's affecting a lot of people. But alcohol is still it's more readily used.
Yeah,
so
and
obviously,
available.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very available. Correct.
So that was your beginning then, your own personal experience with Guiding Light when you were a resident there.
Correct. And just a lot happened there for me, and I knew I couldn't go back to teaching for some other reasons, and I had this, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to make money? And how am I going to earn a living? And I had a sponsor at the time, and he just said, that's probably not the biggest concern you should be having. Let's take this one step at a time. And
Good for you and him.
Yeah. And I'll never forget when I met with him. I knew him. He had never been my sponsor before. I knew him, and we were sitting at a table, and he said, "Listen, I'm gonna tell you something. If we're gonna work together, there's one thing you're gonna need to be able to do with me." And I didn't really know what was coming next, but he said, "You're gonna have to be honest with me." And I had that kind of lump in my throat because it had become apparent to me that I had been living a life of dishonesty in so many ways that I didn't know if I could. And I think what we decided was that if I was dishonest, that I would tell him, because I think it was so bad that I wasn't always sure what was truth and what wasn't true.
Yeah, what's real and what isn't.
Yeah. So, but I can remember the fear of, I'm not so sure I can do that. Not so sure. Really thought maybe I couldn't. Not just the honesty, but that I couldn't change. And so that was a tough one for me. And then there was the big part of who am I without all these other things that I thought made Brian. Whether it's a teacher or an athlete or a son, who am I stripped down, kind of naked? So I had a real existential, man, just fear-ridden and highly emotional, and I think that's where it all started for me, was this kind of different look on life, and obviously the actions had to go with that. So
yeah, there is that initial overriding fear when folks go into detox or they come into a recovery center. They make those discoveries, and just like we had to, who am I at my core? And if it's been a while since you visited with that person,
absolutely,
you don't really know. So there is some. I can relate to that fear equation there, and then of course the good part is finding out not such a bad guy that you got a disease, and I can do something about a disease, this disease anyway, and there's some hope and some help there.
Yeah.
And you found that, right?
Absolutely.
At Guiding Light Mission, Guiding Light.
Yeah. Might have been a mission back then.
It was,
Yeah.
Technically. But I know we're doing something different today.
Yes, we're doing something different today, and it's actually always, so we're 96 years old.
Right, I know it's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Organization.
Mm-hmm. and it's always had a part of a addiction piece, but obviously that's kind of where we landed at today. So, yeah,
Because of the need.
because of the need, and because I think that we feel like we've got a pretty good thing going
Sure.
with some guys, men and women that are having success and staying sober and making a difference in their lives. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then that's what we do in recovery. So
that's what we do.
Dangerous Darren's flagshipping me here, telling me we got some stuff to do with some commercials and whatnot. So we're gonna let him do what he does, and we'll be right back to do some more of what we do. We're glad you're here. Stick around. There's more to come.
I'd like to touch on whether you do it or something, or ask whatever about when you were talking about the longer term housing.
Community
Scott touched
Focus
upon
on
about the 4
WGLN.
months
There's a
of
free motor
treatment,
safety
but
course
I'm
at
not
the
sure
Lakes
that people
Association
fully
Clubhouse
understood
at
that
720
not everybody's in the
Drive
same
in
place
Sand
in
Lake, May
recovery.
31st.
I don't know how to
From 10
present
3,
that
you
other
must sign
than
up by 8
I wasn't sure that was
May
very clear.
21st.
Yeah, okay.
To sign up, text or call Carol at 616-232-1026. They will be providing lunch for the participants.
man.
You don't need to be a Land of Lakes Association
4
member
months.
to attend the class.
4 months, no
You visit
working,
the
so they're
Facebook
not
page
working
or
for
a
those
full
4
list
months.
of
That's
upcoming
tough for some
events
people.
and
Oh, yeah.
message
You know, they
your
got a
local
house, they got an
organization
apartment, they got, they think
Up-to-date
they got
local
a,
information
keep
on
earning that money.
WGLM.
so. And then
And they have to make that commitment coming in.
They do. Obviously, they can leave anytime they want, but we, you know, are you ready for that? You know, we're asking them those questions. We realize that people change their mind at times, so.
Football score
So like reset.
14-12.
Yep.
American League contest,
Yep, and those
Texas
old-
5,
old
Houston
school
1,
rehabs
and
of
Toronto
long-term
defeated
are kinda
Detroit Tigers by a
falling
score of
away
2-1.
because insurance only
Interleague
pays for
play,
about,
Angels beat the Dodgers
15 to
11-9.
27
San
days.
Francisco
So,
over the A's.
the
1-0.
long-term places have faded
Seattle
away because they
4,
can't do the
San
insurance.
Diego
Yep.
1.
So I've taken a
Boston
couple
edged
people,
the
yeah, about
Atlanta
30
Braves
days, and then
7-6. It was
out of
Minnesota
pocket
7,
after that.
Milwaukee
Yep.
nothing.
Yep.
St. Louis
I talked to the
shutout
fellow that
Kansas
ran an
City
insurance
1-0.
company, billing,
Cleveland,
whatever you wanna
won.
call it.
Coded guys
Yeah, all
are
that stuff.
Yeah.
And he said some 20 years ago the data was in that it made no difference about treatment, whether it was a week or 30 days. He said, but what the real difference was is that
1 minute.
people's aftercare, but that's part of what you address now.
Yes,
There used to be a
absolutely.
person couldn't take anything in while they were there because they were too befuddled, but now they realize they've got to do
Stuff afterwards.
yeah, while they're still in treatment, it looks like aftercare.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that piece of the puzzle changed hugely
Yeah.
when they found out that they couldn't get funded like that.
Okay, I didn't know that little piece of it. I didn't know.
This guy says that's common knowledge, and I told him that's bullshit.
No, I didn't. I mean, I knew aftercare was important, but I've heard IOPs are
30
terrible. Like,
seconds.
really do badly. Like
Yeah.
percentage of success is really poor.
Yeah. They diminish.
It's a WGLM
But it's got
weather
to do
center
with the
update.
time.
Cloudy skies
until
today,
90
breezy, a high
90
of
days.
64,
It's a
partly cloudy
continuation from
overnight
day
tonight.
one of the same
Low
kind
38. Mostly sunny for the day on
That's
Monday,
interesting.
breezy conditions, a wind gust of 25 miles an hour and a high of 63. Clouds overnight Monday night, a
And
low
that's
down to
way the
40.
old days.
10
Mostly
seconds.
cloudy for the day on
That's why they had
Tuesday,
such a
late day
success rate.
showers
You wouldn't leave the
possible,
person
high
alone.
of
I'm going to talk a
57.
little bit about what they did Friday.
Now, more of the music you love
shut
on
up.
WGLM.
When? Hey, Scott, Mike, and Brian back with you here on Continuous Miracle, WGLM 1063. We're still glad you're here, and we're still glad we're here. Hey, wanted to mention Mike and I got to take Continuous Miracle on the road here this week again. What a treat that was. We went up to Ferris State University, and we're part of
Community
an event-
Conversation Day.
Community Conversation Day event that they hold up there. And it was attended by about 100 people, and wow, if you ever get the opportunity, I know they're going to have another one in the fall, and what a place to gather some information and to network with a lot of people in the recovery community who are trying to put this thing together for the benefit of all the folks like us, you know. And there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that I was unaware of until I became involved with them. And it's amazing the amount of work and effort that people put into the recovery community who we may never meet or see, you know. But it's going on, I can tell you that. Mike was duly impressed, weren't you, sir?
I certainly was. The number of people I met, They've even got a social worker police officer up in Fremont. I didn't even know we did that out in the country.
Yeah, they're floating around out there. We haven't behaved in a way recently to encounter one.
Oh, that.
That's added value.
That psychic change thing, it pays off, huh?
Right. Besides, they have things to do.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like us. It's amazing. What a miracle. So, yeah, want to make mention of that. And thank you for Summer for putting that event on so that we could all gather there and share some good information about how maybe we can best help the recovery community. And, yeah, it's just a neat thing to be a part of. So we'll make mention of that moving forward, their next event. And I highly encourage anyone who's involved in the recovery community, not involved, just want to become a little more educated about the recovery community. Come on up to an event like that. It's really informative. And I need all the information I can get. So at least trying to be somewhat helpful. So.
I went for the tacos, but I learned a great deal while I was there.
You made a spectacle of yourself at the taco bar, sir.
Stuff happens, but we do what we can. I wanted them to know it was appreciated.
And you did.
But besides that, I networked with an awful lot of people that are doing things I wasn't even aware was going on, like you said, in the recovery community.
Right.
And folks, we're going to have some of those on as our guests in the next few weeks ahead.
That's true. We've got some interviews coming up with some of those people. And I think you'll enjoy those interviews as well as you're enjoying this one, hopefully. Back to Brian here. He was telling us a little bit about what brought him to the recovery community, and which isn't unusual, you know, the unmanageability factor. And when you got there, what you encountered, and now as the executive director of the organization, which, if you think about it, put it in context, that's a miracle, sir. Don't worry, I'm better at identifying them than you are. And a continuous miracle, and wow, and you get to share that with us today. So I appreciate you coming up and doing that. It's amazing how this stuff really works in the real world, folks. You know? Yeah. So you were mentioning, though, they go through, participants, excuse me, go through a 4-month committed recovery program. And today they have sober living units afterwards, and that's because there's no working in those 4 months you mentioned. No employment, just kind of an unplug and reset, right?
Yeah, so those 4 months are pretty intense, and what I mean by that is we have high expectations, and the easiest way to explain that is those beds need to be made by 6 a.m. I'm not a military guy, but you know, the day starts with making your bed, and the guy said, why do you gotta make us make our bed? And I'm like, there's no better way to have easy win in the morning just by making your bed, getting that room nice and clean, and starting your day off with what we might call a win. And so they get in that habit. I don't know how many kind of keep that going throughout their life when they leave, but
Hey, I failed.
yeah, right. But we're intentional about the physical aspect. So the guys, if you're familiar with Grand Rapids, 8th Day Gym supports Guiding Light, and we go down there twice a week. The men are there twice a week. The women are there once a week doing CrossFit at the 8th Day Gym. They go to the YMCA. They work out there. We're really big on the body, and then there's always the spiritual part of recovery. We're a Christian organization, so we see that as an important piece. And then there's the mind part, and so we have 7 focus points that we concentrate in our programming, our classes and things, and we get the men out a lot. So they're at community group stuff, and they do a silent retreat every 4 months. They go to Camp Henry up here in Newaygo every 4 months. So we want them out in the community, meeting people, because that whole interaction and being part of a community is so important to kind of like seeing yourself in a different way. That this idea that I'm worthy, that, you know, I'm not this criminal sinner or whatever, you know, that obviously we have some issues, but I'm worthy, and there's, I can change, and faith, and if I can watch Johnny do it over there, or Peter over here, or Becky over there, man, what a roadmap for me to take that next step, that one day at a time type mentality.
Right.
And we so to kind of continue that that story of how it works at Guiding Light. There's the 4 months, and then after that, the men start looking for work. The men and women start looking for work, and we use an organization through Goodwill called Achieve, and they help guys with resumes and jobs, skill, like the interview process stuff.
Sure.
And then men get work, and the women get work, and then they save some money and continue to stay with us, and then they save up to move to the transitional or sober living part. And that's where we see, so since we've done that, and we've been doing that for over 12 years, 79% of the men that follow that process and go to what we call Iron House, which is our sober living, 79% of those guys will be sober 1 year later.
And that's phenomenal.
And that number is kind of off the chart.
Yeah,
It's-
that's phenomenal number.
and,
Success.
yeah. And so most recovery places, because of their short-termness now, can't keep that statistic. It's more self-reporting, and we're there, so we know these guys well. We've been in relationship with them and their family. We get to know them, and obviously we're testing them if we have any reason to believe something's going on. So we
Sure.
feel very confident about that number. And the longer they stay, we have no move-out date. The longer they stay, the higher that percentage goes for them. So we really encourage them to save some money, to stay with us. Obviously, there's some things they need to do in those places. But the cool thing is they're apartments. They're not, a big house with a bunch of people in them. They're apartments, 2-bedroom apartments, and each guy has his own bedroom. So they're very
There's some privacy.
nice
there.
living, and we get them out of the city. They're in a little bit south of town in Kentwood.
Okay.
And so just in case they have a lot of ties to the city, we try to get them outside of the city a little bit different. Environment's probably the number 2 or 3 predictor of behavior. So we want to kind of disrupt that how their behavior has been in the past. New friends, new faces, new phone numbers in that phone, hopefully some new habits, and we're amazed at what we see happen.
And new results.
New results.
Folks
Yeah.
used to tell me that I had to have new playmates, new playground, new playthings.
There you go.
Sounds like the same.
Same thing. It's not. It's
But
not.
you offer
complicated.
the structure. No,
Structure,
no, it's not. But you
absolutely.
offer that structure for the person who's coming in. And life has been unmanageable. Generally, it's not an overnight matter to make life unmanageable, in my experience. It takes a progression to get there. And then when it gets to that point, trying to reset that is if you've never done it, I don't think folks can understand what a monumental lift that is. And the fortitude, the commitment, the things that we learned that are now different and new, and garnering some faith. You mentioned you're a Christian organization, gathering some faith and trying to live and do differently. And these people, folks just like us, they need to be applauded for the amount of effort they put into turning their lives around. And I thank you, sir, for the service you folks provide right there in Grand Rapids.
Well, thank you. I do need to say, we're free, so there's no cost to the participant. We like to say we're a free program, but the commitment has a cost to it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's because of the generosity of people in the West Michigan. It's just amazing that they're, supported Guiding Light for so long. So we're very appreciative for all those that support Guiding Light.
And yeah, for 90 some years.
96 years, yeah.
That's a huge commitment, isn't it? I would think.
Yeah, I mean, we have donors that have given, 25 out of 26 years, 26 years in a, when I took the executive director role and started seeing all these names, I just was like, it just hit me in the gut that so when I call those folks up and say thank you, I get to say, hey, I noticed you gave in 2012, I just want to say thank you because you changed the direction of my life. I mean, today I got married, I think in my third or fourth year of recovery, coming out of there, and I have two young children.
Well, good for
And as you can see, I'm not a young buck, so I got started a little bit
Compared
late.
to me.
We compare licenses here in a minute. You might not know.
You got a license?
I do.
Oh,
I
okay.
do. I know.
Things have got
Yeah.
better.
2 young kids, and Max, my 4-year-old, at night, we cuddle, and he says, Dad, will you hold my hand? And I mean, the stories
I do.
are just, and from the guys, the stories that we have about them, it's when I heard the name of your show, I was like, man, we call it miracles all the time. And one way I tell the guys about that is, you know, a miracle can be something that just catches your attention.
That's it.
And behold with rapt attention. And we see them all the time.
I mentioned 2 this morning.
I know. I know.
It happens on a daily basis.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I say the same thing to the men, like it's how you see the world. And really,
Right.
those 4 months, we're trying to get men that, let's say they're all convinced they need to have the best job or the best apartment or the best car. We're trying to get them to reframe maybe what's important and how they look at the world. And that's a long-term, that's a
That's a heavy
long-term
lift.
sell.
Yeah.
And so some guys, you know, phones, we take the phones when they come in, no cell phones until month 4. Some guys walk right out the door. They say, I'm not giving up my phone.
Sure.
And we say, okay, maybe someday you might come back knocking on the door. And sometimes they do. And they say, I'm ready now to give up that phone. And it's just amazing when people, that light goes on and you kind of see it, that, you know, we like to say, are you ready to wake up?
Yeah.
Are you ready to
That's
wake
good.
up? And once they start buying in, not to what I believe so much, they don't have to believe like me.
No, they can believe whatever they wish.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
there's no theology. This isn't a theology course.
It's an inspiration to me. And I kind of, you know, my first move at Guiding Light was helping men get jobs. And then the executive director back then said, you know, what could we do to maybe make this program better? And I brought in some old time men with recovery, and we started going down that direction. And the next thing I know, I'm 2 years sober, and I'm running this men's program, and I'm like, holy cow! Like, I'm doing recovery, and I've got these sober living houses called Iron House to manage, and overwhelmed. And I start asking a ton of questions from the community, and we kept trying to make the program better.
We're trying to build it.
Build it.
Build
And
it
that
out.
structure that you mentioned, why are men or women going to find value in this? And you got to keep them thinking that, I want to stay here because I see there's a possibility of a different end game than the game I was playing. And that game they were playing is a, what do you call it? A no-win. It's a no-win game.
It's dead end streets.
Dead end. And you know, we started the women's program a year ago, and so we got smart. We didn't put the women in the same location.
Good
as the men.
idea.
Hey,
Mike,
I
are
can
you
tell
on board
us-
with that?
No, well, okay, it's okay. I'm out of that right now, so yeah.
That is a good idea. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yes, us guys in recovery know that is a losing proposition to
Yes,
put
sir.
them in the same facility.
And nothing wrong with the women. It's just
No,
more us. Yeah,
No, or
yeah.
just the idea just doesn't. It's not going to work. So
Still a bit defective early in recovery.
Well, we're more instinctually driven than logically driven.
I'm staying away from that one.
Okay.
I don't know.
You got different instincts than me? Never mind.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just staying away from it. That's
Okay.
all.
Let's just say it's a good idea.
Great idea.
Leave it at that.
Good executive decision.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Born from experience. So wonderful. We love the work that you're doing down there. Yeah, and changing lives. And I know what you speak of when you say that touches your heart, touches your soul. When
Absolutely.
you see that wake up and that come alive again, you know, and
Yeah.
however that looks, and discovering their true selves, however
Yes.
that looks. And it's actually, it can be quite entertaining.
Yeah, I'm entertained.
I've been told that, I've been told it can be, I was pretty entertaining too early in recovery. But, and that's all part of it. You know, we make those new discoveries new discoveries.
Yeah.
Change that perception, and the world comes in with a little different focus to us.
Yeah.
Start living and doing different.
Yes. And we, I mean, one of the most moving things is to talk to a parent. You know, their son or gets a year clean through us, and we get to know the family a little bit, and mom and dad, we get to know them, and they just say, hey, I never lost hope, but I didn't know this.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I didn't know this could happen. I didn't to see the tears rolling down their faces, and man, it's
And
pretty
what
intense.
the impact that the practicing addict, alcoholic has on the people who do care for them and love them.
Yeah.
And they get, they get tired too.
Oh boy,
They get real tired.
and don't know what to do.
No, and it puts them in a terrible position.
Yes.
thank goodness for Al-Anon, you know,
Yep.
and the outreach to those folks. So there's help for everybody, actually.
Yeah.
When we step back today, we understand things quite a bit differently. And want to make sure that folks out there understand that's why we're here. We're trying to let you know there's hope and there's help out here.
Absolutely.
And we're not bad people trying to get good. We were sick folks trying to get better.
Yep.
And when I can break that down, and that's something I can understand. And I'm just a layman, you know what I mean? I'm not a teacher or a former teacher, but when that was explained to me that way, I took that to heart. I understood that because I knew that was the truth, and the truth rings clear when it's supposed to, when it does. We have those awakenings, those moments along the way where all of a sudden, hey, I can do something different. Look at that, an opportunity. So Darren's telling me he's got an opportunity to run his board again today. That one's a magnificent job on the technical difficulties. I think we've mastered them. We're going to get through this thing together. Thanks for being here. We'll be right back.
I'd like to touch briefly on something that you spoke of, physical, emotional, mental. Some places they call that spiritual. Some places they call it holistic, trauma-driven.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's a lot the same thing because it's whatever brought that
Memorial
person to
Day
this
just
point.
around the
Yeah.
corner.
Those all
Make
need
your
to
way
be
to Two
addressed.
Seasons Greenhouse
And
in
some
Boone.
seem to
A
be
Remembrance
more
Garden is a beautiful way to
pressing
pay tribute
at
to a
first
loved
than
one.
others, but
Enjoy
they all
17
need to be
greenhouses
addressed.
filled with beautiful
Yeah.
geraniums, hanging baskets, patio
Sometimes
planters,
not
perennials,
addressing those in
vegetables,
the
and
treatment
more. You'll
program
love the helpful staff and friendly
leaves
service.
a guy
Two
like me
Seasons
with,
Greenhouse on
the
Ellis Road
wrong
in
direction,
Loudon,
so to
open
speak,
Monday through
'cause
Saturday
I'm not
9 to 7
taking
and
care of the
Sunday
whole
10 to
person.
6.
Yeah.
Don't forget,
Spiritual,
kitchen tickets
emotional,
are
physical.
available.
A
Yeah.
recovery
Whatever order you wanna
ecosystem
put
is
'em
an
in.
evidence-based
Yep.
approach that creates
Yeah, we have
the
spiritual
environment
directors
that
down there, which at
individuals
first
and
I was like,
families
what the
need
heck's a
by
spiritual
providing
director?
all
And
the
then,
necessary tools, services, and supports for recovery to
we just,
occur.
these folks come out of the
Cameron
Dominican
FSU
Center and they've been
aims to build
trained
a
and they're just really good listeners.
sustainable
They're
recovery
lessons about
ecosystem
theology. It's
through
not really,
collaborative efforts.
if it's done
with a
well, it's
focus
nothing
on
about
4
their belief system.
populations.
Yeah, it's about
being
what you
imposed on
understand.
them.
Homeless,
Yep. It's
unhoused,
about how you got
pregnant,
to
and recently
believe what you believe
incarcerated.
and
Visit
are you doing anything that
Cameron.org
represents those
for more
beliefs? And
information.
if not, how could you?
Serving the community for over
pretty cool
26
stuff.
years.
Yeah.
Gold
So you
Star
mentioned
Outdoors
how
of
I live in
Edmore, Michigan
spirituality
is the
is all I
area's
live in.
leader in stock
Yeah.
and quality name brand hunting.
Since
shooting,
I've been
and
working
fishing
more,
gear. Gold Star
that is a
offers
common
large
theme that I
inventory
bring
of
out.
firearms,
It's your actions
ammo,
as
optics,
opposed to your
archery
beliefs.
equipment,
Yeah.
clothing,
If your beliefs
fishing
play
gear,
out in your
and
actions,
more.
then we're
You'll
talking
get
a
more
different story.
Michigan's largest
Yeah.
locally owned furniture.
And the men don't always
appliance,
see
and
that.
floor
They think,
cover
you know,
and
they
store.
become little mini
Large
theologians,
furniture
but they
in
don't, there's not a
Stanton.
lot of
Get more
action
savings,
Right.
more
behind it,
selection,
so.
more
30
quality.
seconds.
Get more
got
dedication
touch on
to
the
satisfy the
website, too.
local shoppers
Yeah.
and to serve
Boom.
the community.
Boom.
Get more
Yeah.
knowledge,
Oh, numbers.
experience,
Yeah.
and more
got a
extraordinary
number?
customer service.
Yeah,
That's
Get
actually
more
our own
advice
guiding
about
list
new
phone number that
parts or repair
I told him I always
options
forget
versus
it
a new
or
purchase.
say it wrong,
Get
so I
more
better
we
write it
said
down.
it on the air?
financing and free delivery options.
We haven't said it
Oh,
yet.
there's
Then
more.
it-
You feel
But I'm
free.
sure by
Okay.
now you get it. You'll get more comfort all the way
We were talking
around
about
when
other
you shop
stuff.
locally. Large furniture
seconds.
in downtown
It's messy
Stanton.
business.
It goes
Take a
quick.
ride in the Wayback Machine with Darren. What famous date shall I set it to today, Mr. Peabody?
Don't miss a 20 you know.
And Sundays at noon.
Talking about you?
Yeah?
That's what I thought.
Scott back here with you on Continuous Miracle 106.3 WGLM. A couple things to mention before we get going here on this conversation. If you'd like to visit our website, it is continuousmiracle.net. Continuousmiracle.net. You can leave us a note there. Also, all of our previous shows are recorded and posted there for you to view at leisure. And we're also available on Facebook. And we're actually on Facebook Live right now. And what day are we posted on YouTube, sir?
There's really no specific date. It's just when I can get to some internet.
Okay. So we'll be up probably tomorrow, I would imagine, sometime on YouTube. Continuous Miracle. Put that in your toolbar and we'll pop right up. And you can listen to this broadcast or share it with somebody. Same thing on Facebook. Just put it in your toolbar. It'll pop up. and you can share that with whoever you like. And it would be grateful if you did that. I don't think I've mentioned that. So I think it's a good thing to get some of these messages out there to the general public. Also, if anybody has a question for Mike, myself, or Brian today, because he's here a lot, telephone number is 616-754-1063. You can feel free to ring us up, and we'd be happy to answer any calls. Also, you can leave questions on our webpage, and we can answer them there directly, or we can answer them on air sometimes when we get the opportunity. So that's all available out there today. Wow, this thing's really growing, isn't it, Mike?
Making progress.
She's good.
We had a fella call last week, and I called him back, but I didn't get a hold of anybody. But I encourage you to keep calling, folks.
Yeah.
I'll
please
call
do.
you again, Wade.
Please do. We enjoy it. So speaking with Brian here as we went to break, and what's happening with Guiding Light today, and the availability that's been made for folks looking to find a treatment facility. Say that again to me, because it resonated. Free?
No cost.
At
Absolutely no cost.
That sounds like free.
That sounds like free.
Oh, no, wait, there's this expensive commitment of time is what I heard.
Yeah, there's a
Well,
commitment.
There's a commitment, but it doesn't cost monetarily the participant anything to get enrolled and come in and try and turn their lives around.
No cost.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And that's through the generosity of donors.
Yeah, and if you know anything about what it costs to go someplace to get treatment, and especially pay out of pocket, you're talking big money.
Yeah. Treatment out of pocket is very expensive, so I want to thank the donors out there in the area who have contributed to this program and others like Guiding Light. And, wow, thank you for your generosity. And thank you for giving folks the ability to maybe change their lives.
Yeah. You
know.
can see it's making a difference.
Boy, we're living through it. We can see it making a difference in our community. And that's always wonderful to be a part of. So, Mike had a little something on his mind here before we went to break. I'm not sure if he remembers what it was. I'm not responsible for that, but it was there.
Okay, I'm going to start rattling on, but it had to do with body, mind, and spirit. In some places they call it the holistic approach, trauma-driven, but it appears as though you try to address the whole person through your different parts of the program.
Yeah, we have pretty, I think it's like 100 and some questions when someone comes in, and what we realized was, I want to say like 80%, and I speak of the men because we have just more data with the men since we just recently started the women's. 80% of those men would report some form of trauma. And remember, trauma doesn't mean that I was in a war and got shot at. Trauma is my experience, my perception of an experience and how that impacts me. And so, you know, we had one person that talked about their dad not coming to like his first, I don't know, athletic event or something. And I remember hearing that at first and thinking, you know, what is that? And then I realized that the dad was kind of an absent dad, and that was just the first event that he remembered of a father not showing up. So that trauma stuff is real. Now, what I would say to what we call holistic at Guiding Light is, one thing we're hoping is that the individual kind of locks on to at least one thing. One thing gets them curious.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
All it takes.
That's one thing to get your interest.
Yep.
And you can build upon that.
Exactly.
When you have time, 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing they need to bring is, you mentioned commitment. We like to call it willingness.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so if it's the mental health piece, we have Arbor Circle has Norm that you mentioned. Norm works down at Guiding Light. And so we have the mentals, group therapy, individual therapy. We have the exercise component. We have the spiritual direction component. We have a wide. We get them men out and the women out into the community. So it takes one little thing, like give somebody a book and they read that and they get a little excited about something they never thought of, and they want, all of a sudden they're asking questions and they're curious and interested. And then when it comes to some men that are more agnostic, we talk in terms sometimes of like, where do you see beauty? Where do you see awe, mystery, wonder, and sometimes
What
it
makes you
starts to-
curious?
What makes you curious?
Yeah.
And you know, you don't always see it right away, but it's just kind of like that seed is planted, and then they start to kind of water it a little bit here and there, and then some guys just
Or other people water it for them.
other people water it. And,
Walk
you know,
them by.
my
Yeah.
story is just like I think back of all the people that have an impact
Sure.
on where I am today, and it's kind of just downright frightening. Like
Miracle?
Miracle.
Yes, sir.
Continues to get you where you're at.
I know. It's a regular
yeah,
occurrence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I get to say to the men and women, like, I've been in your shoes. Not so much I've been in your shoes, you need to do what I do, but I've been in your shoes and I know how that daily struggle can be. Like, is it worth it? Is it going to happen to me? And just hang in there.
And the
It'll
answer
come.
is yes, and
It'll
you are
come.
worthy.
You are worthy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's an incredible thing for me to be able to watch this happen from this,
Can be exhilarating at times. Yeah,
yeah, no doubt.
I've found that to be
No
true.
doubt.
Yeah. Look at that.
Guy like me had to have a lot of those things pointed out.
Right.
I wasn't aware.
No, you were less than curious.
Yeah, there you go. I wasn't curious. I had sort of given up some kind of hope that, about a lot of those things. I guess well, I was just so bitter and angry about things when I got here. I couldn't see any of that. I had to have things pointed out to me for the longest time. Now I'm just above dolt stage, and I can see some of God's handiwork in my life, and it makes a world of difference. And I can share that with other people that that's how it worked.
I think I was about a year sober, and my mom was just like stuck in there with me. My family has completely, and I was complaining about. I don't remember what I was complaining about. It was something about. I don't know. I can't remember. And my mom looked at me like a mom can.
Oh, yeah. I know that look.
And she said, "Brian, you have no idea how many people are praying for you."
Right.
And I knew, like, something hit me, like, man, how I'm just still acting like a victim. I'm still acting like I'm entitled. Like, I have no idea of the circle that support me and other people, families, and of the people that are hurting, the ones with the addiction.
Right.
It's just, and then some people are dealt with a different hand, right? There's not that family support.
Yep.
And so Guiding Light,
Seen
a
it.
year ago, we started working with an organization called Lantern, which deals with the family aspect and helping the family kind of navigate it. And we've been doing that for a year, and we're seeing some good results from that too, getting the families more involved in the participants. at
Because
Guiding
not
Light.
everyone wants to be a part of that. Like we mentioned, they've been seen enough disappointment that it takes
Yes.
them a while to heal and want to maybe
Yeah.
become part of that recovery process as well. Understandably so. Understandably so.
Yeah. Cautiously optimistic is what I hear quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With good reason.
With good reason. Yeah, so if you're someone or know someone that's in need of help or just wants to, the question we typically ask is just, are substances, alcohol, drugs causing problems in your life? We're not even, you don't have to tell us you're an addict. It's just like, are they causing problems? And if that's someone, you know someone like that, like our intake line is 616-451-0236. And you can ask
Repeat
for the
that
intake.
again, Brian.
Yeah,
Repeat that again.
616-451-0236 or on the web at guidinglightworks.org.
And anybody, no matter where you're situated, can become a participant within the Guiding Light organization.
Yep. Yes, we have a couple folks with us from the east side of the state, and just so happens that there was a counselor on that side of the state that got to know some Guiding Light, and they sent us a few guys and gals, and so you don't need to be from Kent County even, you can be from anywhere around.
Right, and we reach out to a lot of communities out here in what do you call this neck of the woods, Mike? Out in the Montcalm.
I call it BFE, but that stands
Oh.
for Beyond, Further, and Everything. How's that? I didn't get
Beyond
beeped on
further and everything. That's
There
good.
you go.
Progress.
BFE. Anyway, we're really spread out away from services out here, but
Yeah.
the services are available and people need to know that. That's why we're doing what we do.
A free treatment in-house residential program is available
Yep, for both men and women.
for both men and women now
Hmm.
through Guiding Light.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. That's amazing. Because it wasn't always that way.
No.
No, sir.
No.
No, sir. And it is today.
It is today, thanks to the community.
Community, exactly.
Yeah.
And the efforts that people will never meet or come across. You know?
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
and it's got how this thing works.
Hmm.
Sometimes we'll never know. And then all of a sudden one day you turn around and go, wow, what a miracle.
Yes. Pay it forward. Right.
Yeah, try and give something back.
You know, yesterday afternoon I get a call from somebody about somebody like us that still needs some treatment. I'm grateful you gave us that number today, Brian, because he's a homeless gentleman up by Newega without one of those addresses. So the normal process doesn't quite work up there because he's homeless without a Newega address. So thanks for the number. I'm going to give that to Tim from Grant.
Great. Yeah. Absolutely.
You might wind up giving Tim from Grant a ride too.
Well, Tim's the one that called me about another gentleman.
Okay, however it works.
That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
I know a friend that's got
I
a
got a
problem.
friend
Yeah.
who's got a friend. Yeah.
Huh.
Or asking for a friend.
Yeah, right.
That part.
Right.
Apparently, this gentleman I'm referring to in the long run asked Tim for help, and Tim didn't know what to do, so he called me last night, and I said, I don't have a number for you, but by golly, I do now.
You do now.
It just took God a few hours to get in gear and help me.
Well, you know, he does have a universe to run.
Oh, yeah, that part.
And I know some people might wonder, how can we be laughing about, someone that's in need or something, needs some help, and that whole "we're not a glum lot," where
Right.
we for some reason have experienced probably what this person's going through. We're kind of saying, the miracle can happen to anybody.
Anybody.
And to not take it so seriously sometimes, like this whole idea of I'm not always what my actions were. There's a possibility, a good possibility, I can change my outcome in the future. And I love that idea of not, life doesn't have to be such a heavy burden all the time.
No, it doesn't have to be. We seem to put that cloak on though back in the day,
Mhm.
And when you get rid of that cloak and you make those discoveries about yourself, hey,
I can laugh
about
again.
that. I can chuckle
Laugh,
a little bit.
that's right.
Yeah. and I can enjoy what's going on around me.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that had to do with I didn't feel life was worth living when I got here, and today it is because I can help somebody and get helped in the process.
And there's value in that, my friend.
Yeah.
So as we discovered, we don't know it until we know it.
I haven't told our audience that I've been up since 6 o'clock today and had a drink yet. Now there's a miracle for a guy like me. Never did happen like that in the old days.
Bang.
Bang.
That's how we count them up. We start with one like that, and we go from there, and making those discoveries and raising our awareness along the way, trying to be useful and helpful to see if we can do something different and get a different result. And those are all fascinating discoveries. And that's what awaits folks in the recovery community. That's why if you're struggling with addiction, please don't hesitate. Reach out. There's so much help available today as opposed to what maybe it was, a while back. I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. It just is.
Yeah.
And wow, what a blessed time to be alive here. And if you're afflicted, what a wonderful time to come into the recovery community and try and do something different with our lives.
Yeah, just to throw in a couple more statistics, our guys at Iron House, the transitional recovery living, is up to like $23 an hour after their first 6 months there. So I tell people, like, the workforce is so difficult today. If you just show up, like one of our core values at Guiding Light is show up.
Yeah.
If you just show up for 6 months at work, good chance is they're going to be paying you more money because they have such a struggle finding good help.
Turnover's horrific.
And most of the guys and gals, if we said you'll be making $23-24 an hour by the time you're here, 8 months, 9 months, most of them would say there's no way. And so good things start to happen pretty quickly sometimes too.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I mean, the whole process of recovering, becoming whole again, is available to all of us
Yep.
today. Thank God, huh?
Yeah.
Thank God. Mike was wondering, did you have one more question for Brian, or I thought?
No, I didn't. He answered him well. But I can come up with another one. I'm
Well,
curious about
I
what.
know what you can do. I've been a witness for a while now. But hey, we're glad you're here with us today, and you come back and give us a listen again next week. We've got a couple of guests lined up, which should be entertaining. I want to thank Brian for driving up here this morning, Grand Rapids Executive Director. Wow, guiding light right here on Continuous Miracles, sharing his experience, strength, and hope with us and folks just like you. So come on back and join us again next week. Leave us a note on the webpage. We'll be here, and hopefully you will too.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great week.
Thanks for being here, Brian.
Thank you. Did you guys notice I got a cramp in my
I see that.
I
hamstring?
noticed, but I didn't
Like,
want to mention it.
I'm not used to having and I haven't been drinking enough water.
Oh,
I got a
Yeah.
Gatorade, and all of a sudden when I get cramps, like it's a real deal. I was like, oh, if I get a real one, I'm gonna have to get up, and I got it quick enough, but
well, thank you.
I was like nervous there
I
for
thought
a minute.
about talking about it.
Yeah, I was like having a real hamstring cramp, and I was like, those calves are probably worse, but oh my gosh, I was like.